Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Vancouver Rain Draft to Glory franchise mode here in MLB Show 23. So, in last episode, we had the draft, and for the most part, it was I would say, a pretty weak draft class, but we did manage to get at least a solid pick with our first rounder in Antoine Trevino. And we also got a couple other later round steals. Like Brian Morris could be a solid starting pitcher. Maybe he's more of a reliever, who knows, but this guy being a 63 at 18 is pretty solid. He doesn't really have the highest ceiling, but if he performs well, maybe we could up that potential at some point in the series. Also, Pablo Silva has really good potential. A little bit of a low overall, but at least he's kind of a good project starting pitcher. Might make it by the time he's 27, 28 though. That's the only problem. Then we got Sparbori. We also got Halpern, who's a good catcher prospect, but he's 19 years old and only a 47 overall, so he's quite a ways out. But at least we're starting to build up this prospect pool in a sense where we're going to have actually full on rosters pretty much throughout AAA and stuff like that are primarily prospects in our system and whatnot, which is really nice. But yeah, it was a weaker draft class by far. We were looking at some other guys for other options, and most of them were a little bit lower than Trevino. Trevino's got a pretty good solid overall to start off with, being 73 at 18. I think he's going to develop to being a very solid contact hitter for us. Also good speed on the base paths as well with that ceiling and that speed. Maybe we could get that power up there a little bit more, but I think we'll probably focus on getting maybe his vision and discipline a little bit higher, but it is already pretty solid too. So I think this guy is just going to be a pretty solid player for us, like pretty much everybody on our roster already that we already drafted. Like Cardenas, for example, he might be like a second base version of Cardenas. It would be nice to eventually get guys that are more power hitting driven because we've got a lot of good contact guys, but I think Sixto might be that type of guy eventually down the road too. But anyways, before we get into getting through the rest of the season and the off season, I do have a couple comments to go over. So the first one is from Garrett Blair 4607. I think just Garrett Blair, I'll say. It says, Trevino is the only player I could see playing AAA to starting out, although I would start all prospects from this year out in AA. And if Trevino is performing well, move him up to AAA at the midway point since he's only 18. Could let him develop till he's 20 and then give him a chance to join the majors, as you want to maximize the development, in my opinion. And I totally agree with that. I think he will be probably, all these guys will be definitely AA bound. I don't know about necessarily guys like Halpern, who's 47 overall. I feel like maybe in single A till he gets to 50, like we were talking about in the last episode. Even maybe Pablo Silva as well, just because once those guys get up to the higher 50s or mid 50s, then it kind of makes them a little bit better for suited for AA. But right now I don't know if they really are, but more likely we'll start at least everybody in AA. And like what you were saying with Trevino, once we get to the halfway point or so of the season, if he's doing well enough, we'll promote him to AAA and he can play the rest of the year in AAA. And then next season, I think he'll probably play the entire year maybe in AAA, and then we could bring him into the MLB. It depends on, I guess, how fast he's developing, because if he's ready to be in the MLB by next season, then I think he might already get a chance. And the next couple comments are from Nick Bucker Barons OC, who says Trevino's at second base is honestly the better than the pitchers in terms of the floor up plus upside, which I agree with. We were looking at one pitcher. He was basically a little bit of a lower overall, and I think a little bit of a better potential. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, I'm kind of glad that we managed to get Trevino with our pick, even though there was that catcher that we were looking at as well that went to Milwaukee, and he is going to be pretty solid as a player as well. Also, I was asking Nick about if we should be adding Trevino to our 40-man right away, or is he more of an instant impact guy, and he said wait a year. I think it'll be fun to see him develop. A bit of a weaker draft class, to be honest, though. And then he also says, always pick overall in the 70s and a B overall low 60s, low A any day of the week, because how they play makes them develop, which is true. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. Hopefully next year's draft class is a bit of a stronger one again, but at least we're starting, like I said, to build up that prospect pool where we have tons of different starting pitcher options now. We still don't have a lot of relief pitcher prospects, but we have a few closers, which is nice, so a couple setup guys. We also got now first base, second base, third base. We don't really have a lot of shortstop prospects, I think. Well, maybe a couple, but they're more project players, so we're starting to slowly build up that core of players that are going to be here when this team is hopefully contending to get into the playoffs at some point. But that's probably still quite a ways away, I'd like to say, just because draft glories, at least in this type of stance, usually will probably take a while before we actually have a good roster. But anyways, that was that, and yeah, let's first start off this with a big contract extension. Well, not a big one. We'll just give a short little term contract extension to our guy Giancarlo Sixto and probably anybody else that we've drafted already. Once we go up to like 5 years, I think it was. Oh no, when we go to 6+ years, yeah, Giancarlo Sixto wants like $35 million, which is scary. So I need your guys' opinions on terms of contracts. Like when we start dishing out big contracts, what should we be doing? Should we be giving these guys big term deals with like it being backloaded, that type of thing? Because I know I do want Sixto to be here for the rest of his career, but I don't obviously want to give him that deal just yet. But at some point, we're going to have to start giving these guys monster deals. Luckily for us right now, we're still able to get them for pretty cheap. So there we go. We got Sixto back. Let me just take a look if there's anybody else that we drafted that I already want to give a contract to. Because pretty much all the guys that are just like filler players, I don't really care about getting them back just yet. But I will get them back in the offseason when they're hopefully a little bit cheaper. I don't think there's really anybody else to sign here, but there is a lot of players to look through. It's always hard to remember all the names that I've drafted, but I am glad I've at least kept a spreadsheet so then I could know who I've drafted and who I have not, which none of these guys I drafted, so we won't worry too much about those right now. But let's see if Sixto is able to win Rookie of the Year. Right now, he is the leading candidate for Rookie of the Year, so it'd be nice if he ends up finishing at that spot. We will first go to the end of, I guess, wait, let's see. Looks like AA and AAA still end in quite a ways away, so we'll still focus on the MLB for this month, but soon enough we'll focus on the end of the AA and AAA season to see how our prospects finish up their seasons, and hopefully some of them have had some pretty solid results by the end of it. Let's just go autofix the lineups, I guess. Yeah, let's go autofix on that. Let's go auto on that too. Getting a couple wins this month, which is nice to see. Let's go autofix on the rotation. I don't think that's one of our prospects, so I don't really care about your injury. Sorry. That sounds kind of bad. Oh, wow. Some guy was injured for about 1 to 2 months, but he's eligible to be reinstated. Maybe we got injured 1 to 2 months in the last episode. I honestly don't remember because I don't focus on the injuries right now unless they're one of our own players that we've drafted, because these guys that are just like D potentials and stuff like that, I don't care at all for, unless it's like Kellenberger who we drafted ourselves. So, but yeah, this month has been a pretty solid month. We're actually getting a decent amount of wins in it. But yeah, this is still definitely a very bad season for this team. Over 100 losses already. But we aren't going to be a 500 team for quite some time, I'd like to say. I'd say at least 5 years until we get prospects that are developing really rapidly, and then we're also getting really good prospects in. So here we go, 24 and 115. Wow, we're 68.5 games back. That's funny to see. Let's see, AA ends in almost 2 weeks, AAA in 3 weeks. So let's go to the end of the AA season, see what our AA guys did, and hopefully some of them had good seasons. And we need to call up 4 players for our 28-man thing, which is always annoying every year, to be honest. Let's just call up some randos, because I'm not going to call up anybody I drafted, but then again, most of them aren't on the 40-man roster just yet. So let's go to 40-man roster, go to the bottom of this list, and just call up some random no-names to the MLB that I don't really care if they get claimed on waivers. Okay, Briggs. And we'll call up Rufus White. What a name, Rufus. Sounds like what you would name your dog or something like that. Okay, let's get through this. Let's auto-fix those lineups. Auto-fix the pitching staff or whatever the heck that just said. There we go. And that is the end of the AA season. They finished 20 and 49. They were the worst team in their division. Let's take a look at our AA player stats and see what our prospects did. So Fletcher Hoffman batted to 240 this year, 7 home runs, 26 RBIs. He's up to a 64 overall at 21. That's not terrible. He's actually going to be maybe close to being like kind of an MLB player. He's still not on our 40-man roster, and he still has all 3 of his options, which is good too. So he actually might make the MLB as a player at some stage, but solid season. I don't know if it's worth promoting him to AAA at some point. His attributes are still not the best in terms of like hitting wise, so I don't really know where we'll have him next season. It's up to you guys if you want him in AA next season or AAA. Because with the guys we just drafted, maybe we want him in AAA and Trevino in AA, since obviously Trevino is our top second baseman prospect now. Gary Steiner batted a .256, 8 home runs, 50 RBIs, up to a 63 overall at 20 with A potential. Did his potential go up or no? I don't think so. But he's developing quite well, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he was a high overall when we drafted him. I feel like he was in the 50s. But solid season from Gary Steiner. The WAR is a little bit negative, but it's not too bad. Pinheiro batted a .287. Wow, that's fantastic. Up to a 62 at 20. So these two seem to be developing on like a similar path. But that's a really good season there from George Pinheiro. Don't know if it's worth an upgrade or whatnot, but his contact is getting quite well balanced. His OPS was fantastic this year in AA, and his WAR was positive as well. That's good to see. He's actually already an A potential, so I might as well just keep him where he is. But he can also play second base, third base, so I do like that from Pinheiro. Maybe he's the future shortstop for this team. Vasquez we never drafted. Who else we got here? Ray McMahon batted a .242, 5 home runs, 37 RBIs, up to a 59 at 19. Slowly developing, but had a successful first season, I'm pretty sure, as a shortstop as well. So good to see some of our shortstop prospects working out. William Montero is still really struggling. I don't see this guy making the majors. I feel like he's a 59 at 21. He might be a late bloomer, too, because he does have the potential, so he might just randomly make it like 28, 29. But I think he's a ways out. Like, his stats in AA have not been good mostly every year, at least from what I could see, because that ERA is high, that WHIP is high. That WAR is positive, though, so I feel like he might actually be doing better than I'm expecting. But there's like no FIP stat for AA, so I can't take a look and see if he's actually performing well or if it's the team in front of him. It's probably the team in front of him, I guess. But yeah, he hasn't had really that good of a time so far. What else we got here? Josh Groves, .224 average, not great average-wise, but at least 7 home runs, 44 RBIs, 54 at 18. He was one of our picks last year. Yeah, not a super good first season for him in AA, but at least it wasn't really like a terrible one either, so I'll take that. Kellenberger, the D potential guy, batted a .233. I don't see this guy ever making the majors at all, but at least he'll be like maybe a double/AAA player at best for us. Probably more of a AA guy, but there you go. What else we got here? Anybody else I drafted? I don't think so. No. One guy I do want to take a look at who hasn't played at all this season is Michael Chu. He's up to a 47 overall at 18, so he is developing. He is going to take quite a long time still to make the majors, though, I'd say. So there's AA and single A. Let's advance a few, or 1 week at least, see what AAA player stats are looking like. I don't think we have a whole lot of players in AAA still, because a lot of them are now in the MLB. So we have 29 players on our active roster, so we got to send somebody down. Let's just go to our 40-man here, go to the worst player on this list, which is Rodriguez, and we will move him to AAA. So let's see how this AAA team finishes off their year. Auto-utilize. They have finished 28 and 122. Oof. Can I still see their stats, or did I advance too far? I hope I did not, because I do want to know what AAA has been up to. No, I didn't advance too far. Good. So Dennis Lake's up to a 76 at 20. So he is probably very close to getting ready for the MLB next season. He had a really good ERA and a really good WHIP. Obviously, closers usually do, but yeah, that's a really solid season from Dennis Lake. He's definitely going to be our closer probably at some point soon. Gary McAllister's first season, I didn't call him up to the majors at all. A 3.2 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP. Up to a 76 at 23. Definitely sucks that he was an overager when we drafted him, but at least he should be making an impact. Maybe next season we'll use him as our rotation guy, or we could let him play another year in AAA. It's up to you guys, but he is getting to that point where we probably want him to start playing him just because he's older. Jeff Pipp batted a .241 this year, 20 home runs and 60 RBIs. Yeah, his potential is still B, which is kind of frustrating, but he's a 74 overall, which is nice. 694 average, or, oh, not average, geez, that would be insane. 694 OPS is what I was trying to say. Ken Robert, and not the greatest stats for a setup guy. He's a closer, but we were using him as a setup guy, and it wasn't a really bad season, but that ERA is a little bit high for a guy that's more of a setup guy, I think. Could be wrong. Luis Guzman had a fantastic season. He only played 19 innings throughout the entire year, but a 1.42 ERA and a 1.21 WHIP. That's pretty good. That is pretty good, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. He's got a really heater of a fastball, though. 98 on the gun, apparently. Jeez. Anybody else that I got to look at? Because we do need to get through an off-season and all that, and I don't want this episode being super long, but more than likely at this rate it is going to be in a long episode. Yeah, I don't think there was anybody else. There might have been that I missed out on, but let's get the rest of our MLB season done, and then we'll take a look at our guys that we drafted, see how they did this year. And, yeah, we'll see the awards and all that type of thing as well. And we'll get through the off-season, which hopefully we could get through decently quick again, just because it's annoying having to sign so many contracts. We finished 29 and 133, so at least it's better than our AAA team. Let's see what we got here. Let's go to our MLB team. Giancarlo Sixto finishes his rookie season with 17 home runs, 63 RBIs, and a 268 batting average. He's up to an 85 overall at 20. This guy is going to be a stud soon. An 820 OPS as well. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. 4.2 WAR. Yeah, it's a good rookie season. He's probably rookie of the year at this rate, my guess. Garth Howe's up to an 81 now. His rookie season, he was 5 and 24. Jeez. 5.88 ERA and a 1.51 WHIP. That's a really terrible rookie season, but that's what happens when you're on a draft-to-glory team, right? His WAR, he was only a -1, so it could have been a lot worse. His FIP is really, really high, but I think once the team starts getting better, he should be a little bit better than that. At least I'd hope. Cardenas in his second season, really solid season for him too. 14 home runs, 70 RBIs, a 282 batting average. So his average definitely dipped off from last year. Does that warrant his potential going back down? I don't know. But I think that's still a really good batting average. His OPS also went down. But he had another positive season, I'd say. So it's good stuff from Cardenas, up to a 76. And then Steve Schneider, his first season, not the best average-wise, but 15 home runs and 48 RBIs. He is developing a little bit. 593 OPS. Yeah, it's not the best rookie year, but we had to kind of rush him in because of the fact we had him on our 40-man. Who else we got here? Ollie Gelman batted at 213. Yeah, a lot of these guys had a little bit of rough first seasons because we kind of had to rush them into the lineup, which I wish I didn't give them contracts or 40-man options and stuff like that their first seasons, because I would have rather have waited a little bit on these guys because some of them might not develop because of that. Bill O'Donnell at 221 average. Yeah, see, a lot of these guys not best on average-wise, but the OPS is okay on O'Donnell. If I'm not mistaken, he was up there for a potential Rookie of the Year candidate, but his WAR is not that great, so I don't think he's going to be the one that wins it. It's probably going to be Sixto, unless somebody else on another team has a good prospect. And I think that's probably it. Yeah, that's it for prospects that we've drafted. So let's take a look at these awards first. We do have one award winner, looks like, at least. Yep, one award winner, and it is the AL Rookie of the Year to Giancarlo Sixto. So back-to-back years with Rookie of the Year. That's really nice to see. Shows that we're actually drafting some good talents on this team. Let's just go through the awards, skim through them, unless there's ones that we've won. So yeah, there is Rookie of the Year to Giancarlo Sixto, beating out Wes Kath in Boston. Kumar Rocker. What a name. Kumar Rocker. I don't know if that's a generated guy or a real player. It might be a real player based on his age, but that's a cool name. So back-to-back years with the Rookie of the Year. Love to see it. Let's continue skimming through the awards in both leagues. Cardenas did get the Gold Glove for first base. Love to see it. Beating out Tristan Casas and Evan White. So there's that. Anything else interesting to note? Bill O'Donnell was almost the winner of the Golden Glove for right fielders, so that's pretty cool. He was behind Joey Weimer and Manuel Margot. And I think that might be it for awards for us. I'll also take a look at the other league as well, even though I don't really care as much about it because we're not in it, but I'll still skim through this in case any of you guys are interested in who's doing what around the league. And then, yeah, we'll get into the off-season finally, like 20 minutes into this episode. Yeah, these episodes are a little bit long ones, but it is what it is. Can't make the off-season go faster with maintaining the team pretty much the way I want it to be. So, there we go. Who's going to win the World Series in 2027, right? 2027? Yeah, 2027. I am curious on that. Let's go sim to off-season. Who is it going to be? It's going to be the Tampa Bay Rays, who have beaten the San Francisco Giants in 2027. Interesting. Let's go no on that. Let me take a look at those postseason awards. So Wander Franco, the World Series MVP. And then if we go to the postseason MVP, Randy Arozarena and Alec Bergelson. There we go. Let's sim to the offseason now and get our contracts and everything dealt with. Okay, retired player-wise, we do lose actually a decent amount of players that are just generated. Well, guys we've signed, so Zombro and whatnot. I do recognize Bohannon. He's probably, yeah, he did play a few games with us or over the last few years. So, a couple roster players, but we're going to have to sign more of them, which kind of sucks, but is what it is. Let's go to exclusive free agent things, which we have no signings to do. We do need to bring in a farm director, so this is probably one where we need to maybe spend a decent amount of money on a good farm director since we do have good prospects. Jim Pollard seems like the perfect kind of guy. No negatives, so Jim Pollard, let's give you 3.9. Will you accept that? Probably, which is good. Always good to have a good farm director. I don't know how they impact scouting or prospects and stuff like that, but I hope that they impact him in a positive light at least. So there you go. Pollard is accepted. Let's stop the simulation for a second. See if we have anything we need to take care of. No, we do not. Okay. 40-man roster. We got to select that, which right now we already have 36 players. I don't think there's anybody we need to really add to our 40-man. I might wait till the start of the season for your guys' opinion on adding Gary McAllister. I think Gary McAllister should probably get added, or else he might not develop much, being more in AAA. But for players that are not on our 40-man roster that I would sign... Oh, yeah, we could also add, like, maybe Dennis Lake. There is also Pip that's on the uprise. Trevino, not yet. But if you guys see anybody you want me to add to our 40-man roster for next season, let me know. Because there will be probably a couple spots available if we take one person in the Rule 5 draft. So there's that. In terms of salary arbitration, this is where it's going to take a long time because we got a lot of contracts to deal out. Okay, let's get to these contracts. Let's start with the guys that we drafted just because they're always top priority. There's actually none of them in this, so I guess we'll just start signing players. 1 year, let's go down to the 1.5, I guess. Yeah, I don't really care how much I'm spending on some of these guys. We're just trying to keep them here for a little bit longer to make sure our roster is still filled out as much as possible. Okay, let's actually go to the bottom of this list because these guys are going to sign for much cheaper. Get these cheaper guys out of the way. I always hate this part of the offseason just because it literally takes just so long to sign everybody up. Like, eventually I might start cutting this part out of the video just because it adds like so much extra time to the episode and there's not really much to talk about other than re-signing these guys. Once we get actual prospects that start mattering and stuff like that in this terms of the contracts, then it's much more important. Right now, these are guys just filling out our AA, AAA rosters. So every year we're going to have to do this type of thing because I always give them 1-year deals because eventually they will leave this team more than likely. I don't think any of these guys are going to be on a roster for us in like 10 years. So most of them will probably be retired by then because most of them have really bad potentials. So we'll sign them all up though. 1-year deals, not 15-year deals, because 15-year deals could kick rocks unless we're signing like someone like Giancarlo Sixto. Who is the first player on this team do you guys think that should get a big contract long term? Because I think guys like Cardenas and Sixto are probably my top ones right now, but we do have guys in the minors that eventually might want to take that type of thing as well. Like Garth Howe, he's looking like he's a future ace for sure, based on his development. So we kind of want to lock him up long term as well, because I know pitchers can get pretty expensive at some stages, right? So I hope that we always have enough budget to sign all of our top guys, because eventually when we start losing players that we drafted to free agency that we don't want to lose, that's going to be kind of tough, because it might set us back a few years in terms of having a chance to win the World Series. So I'm not looking forward to that stage in a sense. Like, I'm looking forward to obviously winning maybe a World Series in this this YouTube series, but at the same time, I'm also not looking forward to losing players that I've drafted, because in a lot of my franchise modes and stuff like that, I always get attached to the players I draft. Like, I want to see their careers play out just with my team and not anybody else, in a sense. So you guys could probably tell that with some of my franchise modes in NHL and all that. Let's just give you guys what you want, because I do not care if you guys are getting overpaid for 1 year or not. Some of these guys are probably just wanting a decent amount of money since they're roster players. So there we go. All those guys should accept. We got tendered contracts as well. Oh boy. Let's go to the guys that we've drafted first. So Gary Steiner will give you what you want. 1 year deal, $150K. Who else have you drafted? Kellenberger, even though you don't have a high ceiling, you're probably going to be a AA player for life, more than likely. We got Groves. Who else we got? Michael Chu. I hope Chu could get into AA next season, but I don't know if he will. Depends on his development, I guess, still. Okay, the rest of these guys are just random players, so let's sign these guys up on 1 year deals. At least most of these guys are kind of more cheap since they're tendering contracts. What's the lowest you'll accept? 600K? I just, like, I don't want to undervalue some players, because I know some players eventually, like, they don't like making a little bit, like, low money in the future. Like, their morale goes down if they're not making enough, like, if you undercut them, basically, I think, if I remember right from previous MLB games. So I just don't want to obviously do that with our top prospects, but I'm not going to do it with any of these guys too, though, because none of these guys are important. They're just roster fillers. We might need to sign some more players since we lost a good amount to retirement, though, too, which would suck, because that's even more work to do. Maybe I'll do that at the start of next episode, though, because I don't want this episode being like 50 minutes long, but it might end up being, who knows. I've already been recording 25 minutes. I don't think I'm going to be recording for another 30 minutes, so who knows. Maybe I'll just cut random stuff out, too. So Rufus White, we obviously got to bring back Rufus. Rufus is the legend. Rufus should be on, like, our bench when we win the World Series, you know. He'll probably be retired by then, though, more than likely, since he's D potential. I hope we have, like, no problems with injuries, though, for the future, like our top prospects. Like, imagine if Sixto has, like, a career-ending injury. That would be not good at all, because those type of things do happen in this type of series, I'm pretty sure. We got a couple more to go. Gonzalez. I don't even recognize any of these guys' names, because I do not pay attention to really any players in AA other than our own prospects. Brian Chan, Casilla. Yeah, once we get all these guys, at least it should be pretty smooth sailing for the rest of the offseason, because we just got basically the Rule 5 to deal with, I think, and that's it. Like, this is always the type of part of the offseason that takes the longest, is re-signing all these guys. There we go, and Hempel will give you 110K. There we go. We finally dished out all our contracts. Let's advance to free agency 2. But like I said, if you guys see anybody on the 40-man roster that's not on the 40-man roster that I should add to it, let me know, and I'll probably add them to it next episode. That way we could have some more prospects potentially getting a chance next year. Would you like to stop simulating? Yes, please. I don't think there's anybody that's eligible for the Rule 5 draft yet, right? That I would be potentially losing. Like, none of these guys really matter, like these Chan guys and stuff like that. It's not going to be any of the guys we drafted yet, because it takes them a while, I think, before they're actually Rule 5 eligible. Like, I think they have to be almost like 26, most of them, or something like that. So I don't think I need to actually add any of them to it at the moment, as eventually players could start taking some of our good prospects that we don't have on our 40-man. So that's not going to be a fun time, but more than likely the good players will be always on our 40-man. So, oh yeah, we have these contracts to dish out. These guys didn't accept yet, but they should accept hypothetically. If they don't, that's kind of a slap to the face considering I'm giving them over $1 million, some of them. But they should accept hypothetically. Let's go no. Let's keep on skipping through this. There we go. So that contract stuff is done with. Let's get to the Rule 5. No, I do not care about that. That's good. Skip through all this again. And we are almost at Rule 5, which is good. Okay, so Rule 5 time. What have we got for Rule 5 players that we could potentially pick up as Alec Boehm has been traded? Interesting. Let's see, what can we pick here in the Rule 5? What does it recommend us? It recommends us this Cody Hosey guy. He's 30 years old, though. So it's like, I get it in the same time, but we have already 2 young third base that are similar overall, so I don't want to do that. There's also Alcantara. He's 31. I don't think really any of these players are really worth taking unless there's one specific spot we definitely need players in. We do need right fielders, it looks like, so I could take always one of these guys. But it would take away time from Bill O'Donnell is the problem. We could always just take more pitchers. Yeah, that's always a good thing. The youngest pitcher that's there is 23 years old and 74 overall. Only see potential, but Lindsey Raymond. I'm going to take Lindsey Raymond. That might actually be a pretty solid pick. He's young. He's got not the highest ceiling in the world, but he's got a decent overall that he will be in our MLB lineup next season. So yeah, Lindsey Raymond is going to be our pick here. I think that's a good pick. There was also some higher overall guys, but I think Lindsey Raymond being younger, I think that's a nicer pick for us. So let's get rid of the rest of this because I only usually take one player in these drafts. And now that that is done, we should be pretty much close to being done this offseason finally. That's a different McMahon. That's not our prospect McMahon. I was like, what the heck? Okay. And there we go. That's good. Almost to the point. Yeah, that's good. Wait, renew contracts. What do we got? No players found. Okay. Okay, so we are at the start of spring training. Let's take a look at what we got currently for our roster for next season here. What they're listing it out like right now. So right now it's looking like Gelman, O'Donnell, Cardenas, Sixto, Schneider, obviously. Okay, and then actually we can't take the look at Double A and Triple A yet. So that's looking good. And lineup wise in terms of our pitchers, Garth Howe is the ace, not a surprise. And then yeah, that guy that we took in the Rule 5, I would like to use him as a starting pitcher. This Lindsey Raymond guy. Put him in there. I think that's a good player to have in our pitching rotation. Yeah, that's good. Obviously, it could change if we add more guys to our 40-man roster. We do need some contract extensions that are decently big to start next episode. So I need your guys' feedback on this. For Garth Howe, he's already going to start getting very pricey once we add more term to this. So do we already want to give him a long-term deal or not just yet? He technically has still 1 year of R&W, and then he has 3 years of ARB, and then he'll be a free agent. So we want to think about that probably. Cardenas is already thinking he's worth $3 million a season, which I probably agree with. So yeah, we might already want to start thinking about giving Cardenas like a monster deal. Because I mean, like, he's thinking about 10.9 a season at that point. That's actually pretty expensive, but I think we might have to lock up Ozzy Cardenas. I don't know. And then we have got guys like Schneider who are still going to be relatively cheap for now. But eventually they'll start to be more expensive. Same with like Bill O'Donnell. So there's that. Let's take a look at finally the top prospects in the MLB. See if we have any guys in the top 50, which more than likely we have at least a few. So right now the top prospect in baseball though is a Texas Ranger by the name of Rene Pena. 63 overall at 19. Our top prospect in the MLB is at number 8. That is Dennis Lake, who could be almost in the MLB at this stage. We'll see if he ends up getting added to our 40-man next episode or not. But he is getting pretty close, I'd say, to being a closer for us, which is really nice. We also have Pablo Silva making his debut. 52 overall at 19, obviously, so he's a long ways out. But, yeah, he's number 15 on the prospect chart. Gary Steiner's at number 22. That's pretty good. Excited to see what he does in Double-A. He might be eventually in Triple-A soon, too. We also have Gary McAllister all the way at 33, which is not really great considering he's 24. So I feel like we should maybe add him to our 40-man already because he is already getting to the point where he's almost maybe in his prime in a few years. So probably getting added to our 40-man would make sense. Jeff Pipp is at number 36 with his B potential. Hopefully that goes back up to an A at some point. But he has fantastic power hitting already against right-handed pitchers. So I feel like he almost is an MLB player with that power hitting, which would be great to have him in our lineup if you guys want him on the 40-man roster. And finally, George Pinheiro is at number 48. He's almost looking close to being like an MLB contact hitter, which is good. So there is that. And that is going to do it, guys, for this episode of our Vancouver Rain Draft Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we might add some more players to our 40-man roster. We might dish out some big contract extensions if you guys think it's necessary. And yeah, we'll start up the season simulation, do some scouting, and see what the year 6 draft, I guess, looks like. And hopefully it's a good one so we could get some more solid prospects in for our lineup. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.